Final play, looks like barring a penalty. Prescott over the middle of the turret, gets smoked right away, and that'll do it. The 49ers back to the championship game.
Sick. That seems to be the word that everyone's using. That seems to be the theme that Cowboys fans feel every single year, ever since that 96 Super Bowl. It's been 2 decades plus of hopeless futility and utter heartbreak. And every single year on repeat, like Groundhog's Day, we find ourselves asking the questions, what are we going to do? What does the future hold for this team? Every year, it's this is our year, then utter heartbreak and letdown in the playoffs. It's now been 12 straight playoff appearances without making a conference championship game for the Cowboys. That's the longest streak in NFL history. Only the Dolphins, Commanders, Lions, and Browns have a longer streak without making the conference championship game. And it's just been utter futility for 2+ decades. And what is Jerry Jones going to do to fix this team? It seems like this team is never bad enough to acquire the talent they need to get over the hump. So they always kind of sputter. It's a first-round playoff visit or exit, maybe a win, but never 2. And it's leaving questions every single year. This felt like the best year for the Cowboys to make that Super Bowl run and finally get over the hump. And now there's nothing but questions surrounding this team. And I don't blame them. What can you do? You have a quarterback in Dak Prescott who has a million question marks. You have a head coach in Mike McCarthy that nobody seems to know what to do with. Is he a good coach? Is he not a good coach? It's just utter insanity in Dallas. But Jerry spoke after the game. He seemed to reiterate Mike McCarthy is the head coach for the Cowboys moving forward.
Jerry, you said before the Tampa Bay game that nothing that happened that night could impact your thoughts on head coach Mike McCarthy. Does a result like this change anything in your mind with him?
No, not at all. And their decision for our kicker was exonerated with his field goal in my mind, and I'm proud for him. But this is very sickening to not win tonight.
Okay, Jerry, you're keeping Mike, but what are you going to do with him? Is he even a good head coach? We seem to always be questioning his in-game decisions. I know you love him. I know you had a sleepover with him and you were cuddly out there. You have an ex-Cowboys assistant in Sean Payton sitting out there. I know the price tag is super high, but do you really trust Mike McCarthy to hire 2 new coordinators? Because it looks like both coordinators for the Cowboys are getting head coaching jobs. He didn't hire Kellen Moore. They kept him in from the Jason Garrett regime. He's probably getting a head coaching job. And the question is Dan Quinn his hire, or was Dan Quinn forced upon him? He brought in Mike Nolan his first year. They had the worst defense in football. Then Dan Quinn comes in, and they really changed the game, turning themselves into elite defense. What is this defense going to do when they don't have a guy like Dan Quinn making these play calls? And if you look at Mike McCarthy's record, it's really pathetic. Yeah, he has a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers, but he's only won 2 playoff games twice. He's 11-10 overall. We got a lot of 0-1s or 1-1s. It's a lot of bad in the postseason. And like I said, every single game, you have you questioning, what the hell is he doing? We saw that last play to run the game. Hilarious. Last year against the Cowboys, Dak sliding and letting the clock run out on them. It seems like it's always something with Mike McCarthy. So he needs to go in Dallas. You have to move on from him. It's just not a good fit. He's not the head coach that's going to get you to the promised land. Yes, Mike does a really good job keeping things together in season, getting through those 17 games now, getting you in the postseason, winning divisions. But when it comes to the hardest part of the NFL, getting those 3 or 4 wins to bring home the Lombardi Trophy, he seems to fail at it almost every single time. And it's not just that. If this man was getting to Super Bowls with Aaron Rodgers and he just wasn't winning them, it would be different. But it's a lot of super elite records and super postseason letdowns. That's all we heard about with him in Green Bay, and now that's the running theme for him in Dallas. Now, it could be a Cowboys thing. Like I said, it's every year we're sitting here with the Cowboys questioning what are they doing. The real question for this team is, What are they going to do with Dak Prescott? He is the biggest question mark on this team. You need a quarterback to win in the NFL, and the problem is the price tag on top of it. This was Dak's worst season as a starting quarterback. Played 12 games, 8-4 record. He left in the middle of the first one. Decent completion percentage, 66, 2,800 yards. I'm not worried about the yards. 23 touchdowns is okay, but 15 interceptions. Dak went from a guy who never turned the ball over, didn't make crazy plays, but he made the smart plays, he made the right plays, to all he does is throw back-breaking interception after back-breaking interception. And I mean, it was almost a complete disaster last night. Greenlaw dropped a pick six that would have ended the game officially, and the narrative around him would be so much worse than it was. But Dak at least has always been a man and always stood up to the criticisms, and as a leader of a franchise, he responded to this in the best way possible.
Just two throws that I can't have. You can't have in the playoffs. You can't have when you're trying to beat a team like that. You can't have on the road. And, no excuses for that. Those two are 100% on me.
So I'm going to give it to Dak. That's the only correct way to answer those kind of questions. He took the full blame, and he knows it. But what do you do with him? Look at his contract right now. Dak Prescott's now the 9th highest paid quarterback in the NFL. There are a couple of guys in front of him that he's better than, maybe. There's some guys below him that are better than him. I'm not talking about rookie deals. We still have Herbert, Burrow, and Lawrence, who we know are better than those guys that are still on rookie deals, have not gotten paid yet. But man, you can't get rid of Dak either. We're looking at $89 million in dead cap space next year if they were to move on from him. And then after 2023, there is a potential opt-out, but it's still $40 million in dead cap. That's such a massive cap hit. I don't know what you're going to do with it. You can't really trade him. There's not many teams that need a quarterback that have that kind of cap space to deal with, and the Cowboys can't eat that dead cap money. If you look at over the cap, the Cowboys are already in the negatives for the cap next year. They're in bad shape when it comes to the cap. They're not in horrible shape. You can free up some money, but look at this list of free agents they're losing. So you're going to lose 2 coordinators, most likely. Definitely losing Dan Quinn. So you got to bring in somebody new to try and rework this defense. They have a quarterback that's making 22% of the salary cap for this team, and he is not producing at a level he needs to. And I was on this 3 years ago when he broke his ankle and, he was out. He lost an aspect to his game that made him really good. It was his rollouts. It was his movement as a quarterback, being able to move the pocket, make things difficult on the defense, hit the easy throws, convert first downs. And now that seems to be out of his game. The offensive line is a little bit less good than what they were when he first got into the league. And he forces balls in there that make you question what in the world is he thinking. So you're dealing with that. And the list of Cowboy free agents is massive. Tony Pollard was a huge offensive boon to this team. Zeke is totally washed. Feels like he might have played his last game with a star on his helmet. They can get out of his contract this year pretty easily. But free agent Tony Pollard broke his left fibula last night. That's going to really hurt him in the free agency market. So maybe they can bring him back on a cheap deal. But what does that do to him long term? Doesn't feel like a great injury to come back from. It was a nasty roll-up. But look at all these guys. Dalton Schultz playing on the franchise tag. They're going to let him walk. He's going to want a big deal. Their tackles, their guards. I mean, I know Jason Peters was 40, but he fit in real nice this season for them. Leighton Vander Esch, he missed some time, but he was the anchor in the middle of that defense. The entire secondary on the back end, you need depth on the secondary. Guys get injured, guys get hurt. Donovan Wilson was an impact player for them. What are they going to do with him? And the whole special teams debacle, what are we even talking about here? Brett Maher couldn't make extra points towards the end of the season. Now, he finished the game strong in San Francisco, but you need a kicker again. They'll probably bring him back, but you always got it itching in the back of your mind. Could this be the time where the yips come back? Because he totally had the yips. Now, Jerry, like I said, his theme for the night was sick. He was talking about how sick they were, how they felt like it is. Well, Jerry, you got to look yourself in the mirror. You can't be the GM and president anymore. You're too old. You're too out of it. You need to put young, fresh blood into this organization to try and help change things. You've been banging your head against the wall constantly for 20 plus years now. Just banging your head, banging your head, banging your head. You can't get to the conference championship game. I mean, good Lord, man. You have way too much brand power. You have way too many talented teams not to have gotten to this situation. And I know the Cowboys are Cowboy alum are losing it. Michael Irvin gave the most impassioned pregame speech ever, and he's got to be sick to his stomach now. Troy Aikman seems like every year is constantly bashing this team and bashing Dak Prescott because, let's be honest, Troy's the last guy that actually got it done for the Cowboys. Now, it could be over, hype on this team. They got really spoiled with how good they were in the 90s. Winning all those Super Bowls, being as dominant as they were, tends to spoil their fan base. So we see the same cycles every single year. We're back. We them boys. This is our year. Total letdown, total heartbreak in the playoffs. I think this team needs to let go of Mike McCarthy. They got to draft some quarterbacks. They got to find a way to get out of Dak. We know what his ceiling is. Dak is a solid quarterback, but he is not a guy who's going to get you to that next step clearly. He's 2-4 in the postseason in his career. That's really, really bad. He's got 3 losses in the divisional round, one of them coming off of a bye. He just really struggles when the lights are the biggest, the lights are the brightest. He tends to fold. That game was there for the taking against the Niners. Their defense played lights out for 90% of that game. They had one bad drive where the Niners punched it in for a touchdown. But other than that, they were stout. They made Brock Purdy look like the rookie he was. And it's just inexcusable to score only 12 points with the amount of talent they have on this team, the amount of money they have invested in this offense. It's just an embarrassment. And I don't think Kellen Moore called a bad game. I just don't think they were able to make that play with their quarterback, with their run game. They have an old running back. Like I said, Zeke really wasn't ready for that situation without Tony Pollard. So there's a million question marks following this team going into this offseason as per usual. I think they need to take a step back. They need to get bad to then get good. That's how it works in the NFL. You got to be bad to then get to the promised land. The only team that really didn't do that was the Kansas City Chiefs. They were pretty good, but then they traded up and got a generational type quarterback. That's something Dallas needs to possibly think about doing, but they also got to find the right head man. They need some stability. You need Jerry Jones to step away from this team. I think Mike McCarthy needs to be fired, and hopefully one day, possibly for all my Cowboy fans out there, they will find some true success. Now, maybe you don't win the Super Bowl, but getting to a conference championship game would be the start and would feel like a massive weight off their shoulders. It's starting to become a thing now. It's almost like you feel cursed. And when you're an organization that starts to feel cursed, you're just waiting for bad things to happen. And when you wait for bad things to happen, bad things will happen. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, share this video with your friends, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.